Hello, loves. Today I have compiled quite a few good stories. Let's get started. Story 1. He cheated on me with his friend's mom. This isn't about my most recent ex, but this breakup was the one that started a long cycle of bad breakups. When I was 19, I met his guy Jackson on Tinder. He wasn't my usual type, but he was kind and funny, and we immediately hit it off. Things were really good between us, well, until they weren't lol. Jackson started making offhanded comments about my looks, my weight, and things of that nature. One time we got into an argument because he called me fat, and instead of apologizing he sat on the floor and cried to me about how he was insecure about being black and how at least I could change my weight, but he'll never be able to change his skin color, so there's that. He would get mad at me over the smallest shit and block me on everything. He'd tell me how he didn't care about me, but was just using me to validate himself. He'd say that if he ever cheated on me I would never find out about it. He even threatened to unalive himself at one point. One time I found lipstick in his car and asked him about it. I wasn't accusatory or mad because I knew that it could belong to his mom, his sister, or one of his female friends, but then he proceeded to tell me that he didn't know where it came from and that he didn't know anyone that wore lipstick. Another time I found a photo of another girl in his wallet, and he swore that she was just a friend. Spoiler alert, it was his ex. One night he wasn't answering his phone, and I had this ominous feeling in my stomach that something wasn't right. I've never ever been the type to look through someone's phone or social media or anything like that, but this night I did. I signed into his Snapchat and found out that not only was he cheating on me, he was cheating on me with his friend's mom. They were sexting, planning their next meetup, talking about him spending time with her son and her husband, talking about her sex life with other people, telling her how he didn't even like me, talking about our sex life with her, and she was even giving him tips on how to please me. I confronted him and he told me that I was psychotic, a leech, disgusting, and worst of all, that my dead dad would be so disappointed in me. My dad had died that same year. I'm not sure why I'm sharing all of this here, but it feels nice to get it off of my chest. Story 2. Husband cheated on me. I'm at a loss and don't know what to do. I just feel completely empty inside. My husband travels a lot for work. He's usually gone about half the month or sometimes more. He confessed to me last week that he has been struggling with watching porn while he's gone and he wants to get professional help and wanted me to know to have my support. Last night, he told me it wasn't just porn. When he was on a work trip to Vegas, he was watching porn and one thing led to another. Long story short, I guess whatever shit he was watching piqued his curiosity, and he ended up reaching out to someone on Reddit and got a blowjob, and it also happened to be a dude. Honestly, I don't even care about what that could possibly mean. Also, the gender of the person matters much less to me than the act itself. This happened 3 weeks ago, and he just told me. We've been together 4 years and have 2 kids, a 1.5-year-old and a 1-month-old. He's willing to do whatever it takes to stay together and fight for us. He has appointments for therapy already, and we're going to start couples therapy too. I don't know what I'm looking for in here. Building trust back feels impossible right now, but I want to try for our babies if nothing else. I know what advice I would give to someone in my shoes, but it hurts too much to think about right now. I'm just so angry at this entire situation. I feel fucking crazy. I'm so mad at him for ruining my vision of our entire future. Story 3. My partner cheated on me, lied to my face. Hi Reddit. I'm here with a sob story like a million others, and I'd love some words of wisdom if anyone feels generous enough to give them. So my ex-partner, 26M and 26F, were together for just shy of 2 years. We've known each other since we were little kids, and I always considered him one of my best and truest friends, even once we drifted apart in high school. He is funny, clever, sweet, and attentive when he wants to be. 2 years ago, I had a dream about him out of the blue and reached out to him, wondering if he might like to have a coffee with me and catch up. He accepted and we got coffee and caught up. Apparently, he was under the impression that was our first date. I genuinely thought we were just hanging out as old friends. Once he made his feelings/intentions for me more clear, by way of an extremely romantic picnic date that he put a lot of care and effort into, I asked him to let me think about it first. And think about it I did, for almost a month. I had only ever been in messed up, toxic relationships up until that point, and I didn't want to bring that baggage into a potential partnership with someone I already had so much love and respect for. During that month, I did a lot of self-reflection and came to the conclusion that I was more than capable of being the good, trustworthy, and loyal partner that I knew he deserved. I thought we had a really good relationship. It was far and away the best one I had ever been in. He was sweet, romantic, thoughtful, and enthusiastic about me. He had long-term goals and plans that he quickly started to include me in. I met his friends and family and did my best to honor him by being the best I could be to his loved ones. One thing that kept coming up, however, was his job. He works in a restaurant. He thinks it's fine dining. It's not. It's a high-pressure environment, to be sure, and about a year into our relationship, he was given a promotion from bartender to manager. I think that's when things might have started to go downhill. The pressure got to his head almost immediately, and he slowly became colder and more closed off. He is obsessed with his work and his coworkers. He had two really good friends/roommates, let's call them G and T, whom he convinced to come work at the same restaurant so they could all spend even more time together. G and T liked to party. A lot. Especially G. My ex often said that G was a bad influence on him and that his behavior worried him deeply. They would go out with maybe 10 to 12 other coworkers to the college bars in our town, we are not college age anymore, and get drunk maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I'm not much of a drinker myself, so I tried to keep up with them at first, but over time I stopped trying as hard, and my ex also stopped inviting me to go out with them. I also started getting the impression that those coworkers were, not exactly good people. So there was that too. We had more than a couple disagreements on that topic. Anyway, up until a couple weeks ago, I thought things were basically good between us. He always said our relationship was perfect, which was confusing, because obviously no one is perfect, but also because we had definitely had our fair share of conflict, usually about his tendency towards selfishness and childishness. But he always had so many lovely things to say about me and about us and about our future together, so I tended to focus more on his words than his actions. My mistake, obviously. Well, he cheated on me. With one of his coworkers. A girl I was always nice to and never thought twice about. They went out to a bar in our town, had some fun, and went home together. When he told me several days after the fact, I was completely shocked, and for a moment I truly believed that he was joking. A fucked up joke, to be sure, but a joke, right? No. At first he tried to blame it on her. She came on to him and he just froze up and didn't stop her. Al asked him to clarify, did she actually assault you? He said no. He admitted that he chose to participate. I asked if he was drunk. He wasn't. He did try to throw G&T under the bus as well, basically implying that they had encouraged him to have sex with her, and had been filling his ear with misogynistic poison. When I asked him why, essentially, it came down to she was just there. Damn. Stupidly, I kept trying. I should have kept my dignity and never spoken to him again. But unfortunately, I love this person very, very much. So instead, I flipped out, crying and pleading and begging him to let me fix this somehow, that I loved him too much, that he can't do this to me, etc., etc. He told me too many times to count that it was the worst mistake of his life, that he loves me more than life itself, and that he would do absolutely anything to make this right. He swore that he would quit his job, move out of his apartment with G&T, and never speak to any of his old coworkers again. And for some reason, I believed him. Up until last Tuesday night. We were texting about regular life stuff instead of fighting, and everything actually felt 90% normal for the first time since he told me that he had cheated on me. I asked if it was awkward between him, the G, and T since they're all still living together for now. He said no, it's been all good between the three of them. That already had my eyebrow raised since he had been talking about how they were terrible people who he never wanted to have anything to do with ever again. I clarified, so you're not cutting them off for now? And then he told on himself. He said it's coworker's last night out, I wanted to come say bye. Huh? So he was actively out with his coworkers right at that moment. I know that that whole crew of people always goes to the same bar on Tuesday night. The same bar where he was when he decided to cheat on me. Al asked him if the girl he cheated on me with was there too. He didn't reply. After almost an hour, I called him. I asked him to please tell me he was not at the bar I thought he was at. He confirmed that he was. Al asked him if she was there. He confirmed that she was, but said he wasn't talking to her, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Right. He repeated that he just wanted to say goodbye to this other coworker who's moving away. Al asked if he wanted to come say goodbye to me too. He begrudgingly said, I guess I'll leave, which honestly made me really mad, so I said no, stay, have fun, do whatever you want to do. Well, that's exactly what he did. He stayed there. So I showed up. Duh. And who should I see standing outside but the very same girl he cheated on me with? I won't go into details, but suffice to say, I put the fear of God in that pathetic woman. She tried to walk away and I followed her into the bar. I lost her for a moment, turned around, and saw him sitting there right in the center of all his toxic little friends/coworkers, the ones he tried to blame this whole situation on. And her standing in between us. I locked eyes with him and we just stared at each other. I mouthed, really? And he just shrugged. He motioned for me to follow him outside to talk. We went outside. I said, are you serious? This is how it's going to be? And he responded, I just needed one night. I was completely dumbstruck. After a moment, I just said it was cool knowing him and started to leave. I turned around just in time to see him roll his eyes and go back into the bar. I haven't heard one word from him since, although I can see he's reading all my messages. Does anyone have a couple words of wisdom or strength? I realized as I was writing this all out that there's probably nothing more for me to do. All day long I'm screaming at him in my mind for betraying me so badly, but I can't think of a single thing worth actually saying to him. I don't know why I want him to keep trying and keep talking to me when I know there's nothing left for me with him. The trust has not just been broken, it's been destroyed. So why do I still want him to try? I can't believe the person that I was in love with could ever treat me this way, or that the story we've been sharing our whole lives could end with him disrespecting me so badly, just to ghost me afterwards. I feel like throwing up and I'm constantly shaking with adrenaline or anger or maybe both. I just want to talk to him, which is insane considering everything that has happened. I don't know why I would give him another opportunity to lie to me. TLDR, my partner who I have known since we were little kids cheated on me, lied about it, and then disrespected me to my face while betraying my trust all over again. For some reason, I still want him to talk to me and try to fix it, even though I know it can't be fixed. What's wrong with me? Story 4. My wife cheated with my best friends while on vacation. In all the time I was talking to Eric, I still had not gotten a call back from Chrissy. I called 2 more times and then just said fuck it and sent her a pic of her and Mike kissing. The return call was immediate. I didn't answer. She kept calling and I kept ignoring. Eventually she switched to text. The first text was as cliché as it gets, I can explain. I sent back, "Don't bother, I already got the whole story from Eric. Tell your trashy little friend he has divorce papers for her. Just like you will come Monday." At that point I blocked her number. Chrissy came into the house frantically at about 1:30 a.m. She immediately broke down in tears and tried to hug me. I blocked the advance and she began apologizing profusely and begging for forgiveness. I told her to save it, we had a lot to talk about. I wanted every question answered 100% honestly. If I thought she was lying, I would end the conversation and file for divorce on Monday. I had tons of evidence and was not afraid to show the world who she is. I then asked her, "What do you want?" She said she wanted to show me how sorry she was, she wanted to work for forgiveness, and for us to work past this. I told her I didn't think that was possible, but would let her explain herself. I asked why she cheated in the first place. She said she had a lot of fun that day, was feeling good and relaxed. She hadn't felt that way in a long time. Work had been so stressful for so long. She let the moment, the drinks, take over and just went with it. She tried telling me how terrible she felt after, but I cut her off. I said, "Okay, not condoning, not forgiving, but that only explains the drunk sex you had the first time, it doesn't explain the rest of the week. You weren't drunk when you were fucking him 3 to 4 times a day the rest of the trip. Probably weren't too drunk when you fucked Eric, then went and had sandwich sex after." She looked at me with tears and said, "When in Rome." I replied, "Are you fucking kidding me? That's it." She started again, "Well, let's be real, what's the difference between 1 time and a 100? you'd still react this way. Once I had already fucked up, was there really any difference in stopping or not? Would you feel different? I was in a fantasy land, and just embraced it while I was there. I never intended for you to find out, and I never intended to do this again. I wish I could take it all back. I was despondent. That's the most terrible thing I've ever heard, she just said. You asked me to be honest. I asked if she was unhappy, if she was tired of me, if I didn't do it for her anymore. She said no, I love you, I'm happy, all the usually crap. That we have a good marriage, she just wanted to feel wild, feel excited. We had gotten somewhat monotonous, and this experience was exhilarating. Her plan had been to have this much sex with me, but when I didn't go she at first thought, well, that's out, but once it was available she let herself get taken by the moment. I asked about the swapping. She said that was a huge mistake. Emily had talked to her about that on the last full day, and about how they were trying an open. Emily said it's perfect because she isn't even giving up Chuck, just Mike. She admitted to being curious about Eric. Mostly though she kind of felt obligated, if they were going to cover, this was kind of payback, and a way for them to have something riding on the secret as well. I asked about this weekend. Asked why she agreed to that if she was so sorry about betraying me the first time. Chrissy said she never intended to step out of line again, and swore she was gonna make the most of our relationship going forward. I now think about the months following the vacation and Wretch. She had been talking with Emily like usual, and Emily just seemed like she was having the time of her life now that she was open. Chrissy admitted to being a little jealous. Emily had been with several men and Chrissy was living a bit vicariously through her. When Emily started the affair with Mike she knew what she was missing out on, and became more jealous. For the record, I know Mike had a rep in college for being a ladies' man, and if I'm being honest, was the best looking of the three of us. He had managed to stay the most fit as he aged, and that had only improved post-divorce. Chrissy said when the threesome got proposed she really tried to stay strong and not get drawn in, but as the weeks went on she found herself just thinking about that. She told me she caved because the spontaneous one had been really good and honestly thought she could get away with it. At that point she asked how I figured it out, and I said I didn't have to answer that. I asked her if there was anything else and she said no. She just wanted a chance to earn trust, forgiveness, and to reconcile. I told her I didn't believe that. I mean, come on, 16 years totally faithful, then total porn star with my two best friends for a whole week. She swore, offered her phone, laptop, old phones, old email accounts. I said, no, I don't need all that. Because it doesn't matter, you've done enough that I know about already. I am hurt, betrayed, and can't stand to look at you. I am done, and I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. When I woke that Monday morning Chrissy was still home. She usually was on her way to the office, but had taken the day off, anticipating I had done the same thing. Once Cora was off to school, she began her love bombing. I told her I didn't care, I'd already seen all this before. She said she had a proposal for me. All access to her, all of her stuff, all the time, marriage counseling, she would go to individual counseling, cut off Emily, Mike, anyone I wanted permanently, and she would be an open book at all times for any questions. I said those are just things you do when you're trying to reconcile. I don't want to be a warden at home and I don't want to reconcile. She begged and pleaded, and asked that I just wait a week, just a week, and if next Monday I still felt the same, she would sign no matter what, no contest. I looked at her and said, "You swear to that? If I wait a week we will have totally uncontested divorce, no dragging it out at all?" She swore. I agreed to the 1-week trial, seemed worth the risk. If she just signed and agreed, that would save us both time and money. If she was lying and still fought the divorce, well, it was just one awkward, terrible week I was losing. She continued to love bomb and consistently tried initiating sex. I rejected these usual efforts, and on Thursday night told her I was not moved in any way and still planned to file on Monday. She broke down and ran into the guest room until the next morning. Friday after work I could tell she had something in mind. I really didn't care. I was literally counting the hours until I could be rid of her at this point. The love bombing was not working, and I was actually getting annoyed with her overzealous efforts. She said she thought we couldn't go on because of the imbalance that her infidelity had caused. I wasn't sure at first if she was implying what I thought she was implying, but she was. Chrissy said we should have a threesome. I said you did more than that. She said okay, and you can have a week off marriage too. I pointed out that was worthless. I just heard all about Eric's disastrous open marriage. I'm a guy, and unless you're a rich guy or a famous guy, you're not picking up women that easily, especially as a mid-30s already married man. There's no point in me sitting in bars for a week or on dating apps not getting matches. She said okay, you can have 10 hall passes that never expire instead. That can be the same woman or 10 different. I replied, you think that's not gonna impact our life, you're gonna be okay with that? I doubt it. She said she won't let it suffer, she will make a huge effort to be available for all of my needs, and we can do anything I've ever wanted. I know that what I did next was sleazy, maybe not as bad as what she did, still sleazy though, but at the time, I didn't really care. I made it clear that I wouldn't let these concessions just be a way to stall. If she wanted me to stay, then these things needed to happen sooner than later. I wanted the threesome to be her priority. I said she needed to have at least someone agreeing by February 1st, or I was out. I don't know how she found her, but in the week between Christmas and New Year's she showed me a picture of a woman from her spin class. She was gorgeous, and I couldn't believe she found someone that quick and someone so attractive. Tiffany was 24 years old. Her and Chrissy had been chatting at Spin for months, but nothing past regular small talk. I asked how, and Chrissy just said she had her ways. My assumption was she offered her money. About 2 weeks later was the big night. I made it a point to make sure Chrissy was fully involved and didn't feel left out. I mean, I still had my fun, but I knew this would make Chrissy think we were on the right track. I wasn't wrong. She told me how she only did this to try and win me back, but that the whole experience was actually amazing. Prior to that, I had been cashing in on her obligation of being overtly sexual with me. After the threesome, it stopped feeling like she was just meeting an obligation. She seemed excited to be with me and to try new things. Although, I think a part of it was her hope that I would abandon the hall passes. Mid-February, I took the first plunge into using the hall passes. There was a 27-year-old restaurant manager, Sabrina, close by my work. I had frequented it often and always thought she was a little flirty with me. I asked her out. I told her I was 2 months into my divorce proceedings, not true. I said we were still living in the same house, but that I had moved into the basement, also not true. Sabrina seemed hesitant but agreed to the date. Later on, I asked her what made her agree, knowing my situation, and she said she noticed the first time I came in without my wedding ring, I took it off after I caught my wife, and since by the time I asked her my tan line was fading away, it meant I wasn't just taking it off to meet women, but not wearing it at all. During all of this, Chrissy had been pushing that we start marriage counseling. I stayed steadfast that I wasn't interested in doing that until I had used all my passes. By April, I had seen Sabrina 7 times. That really tore Chrissy up, and while today I regret doing this to her, at the time I felt justified. As I began to run out of my passes, I came to realize I was more and more interested in pursuing something official with Sabrina. I decided it was time to stop pretending to reconcile. I also think I had hurt Chrissy enough. She was too. I still feel heavy guilt for this today. When I said it didn't work, and I still wanted to divorce, she didn't fight me. She was sad, she seemed defeated, but she didn't fight it. I found a small 2-bedroom house and left Chrissy in our family home. When I sat Cora down to tell her we were divorcing, I told her the appropriate amount of truth. I didn't put all the blame on her mother, and owned up to my own behaviors during this. I focused on letting her know we both loved her and wanted the best, but we both wronged each other and had to separate. The three of us decided that 50-50 custody was best, so she alternated week to week, staying at each other's place. It took until October for the divorce to go final. I dated Sabrina the entire time. Cora and her got along fine. I was happy Cora didn't see her as the other woman or anything. They never had a step-parent vibe or anything, but were friendly in the way a child is with their parents' friends. My relationship with Sabrina lasted about 2 years. It ended because I don't want to marry again, or have more children. Chrissy had done some sporadic dating over the last couple years, one guy she was with for about 11 months. Then something weird happened this past spring. We have co-parented pretty effectively through all this. The one thing we both wanted was to be there for our daughter. We've been amicable through all of her events and for her sake. When her high school graduation hit, we ended up sitting by each other. What should have been awkward just wasn't. We started joking around, talking, got a little flirty. It was refreshing. A week later, I was still thinking of the fun I had at graduation. I decided to call Chrissy and ask her out. She said, "Absolutely not." This caused quite the swell of embarrassment. Luckily, that was only temporary. After a long pause, she continued, "Unless we start couples counseling." I agreed. We had our first session on a Thursday, and our second first date on that Friday. It's been 6 months since that graduation. We are still doing counseling, dating, and have also started exploring the concept of alternative lifestyles. Gonna take that slow. Things are going well. Chrissy even brought up the idea of me moving back to our family home. Cora can't believe we are getting back together and says it's weird. She told me when she got back from her first semester at college last week that she wasn't sure if she was happy or concerned. She just knows for sure she doesn't want any details of any kind in regards to any of our exploits. Eric divorced Emily and ran for the hills. He put in a work transfer and now lives 4 states away. Mike and Emily tried to make a real relationship work for about a month after her divorce. Chrissy got back in contact with Emily after ours, and learned that pretty much sex was the only thing they had in common, and it fizzled out pretty quick. Emily remarried a guy that used to work with Eric, and the company moved him when he was promoted to a regional manager spot. He is now Eric's direct boss, which I found hilarious. Little did the guy know though, Eric and Emily started having an affair behind his back. I say did because someone tipped that guy off, probably out of spite, and now he's out for blood from both of them. Motherfucker Mike, as I refer to him, is still around and still single to this day. He got jumped one night after coming out of a local bar by some masked assailant. Rumor has it he was beaten up pretty good and may have gotten kicked in the balls 12 times. I don't know what the future holds from here, but today, I can't complain. I'll be sure to update the masses if it ever gets interesting again. Until then, thanks for reading. Story 5, Ultimate Revenge on My Cheating Girlfriend and Boss. So basically 5 to 6 months ago my girlfriend cheated on me with my own boss. It was terrible and soon became the most embarrassing thing of my life. I worked at a supermarket, and with everyone's boring lives it soon became the talk of everything and really made me struggle mentally. Key things I'll add before I explain why I took revenge out on him. My boss was in his mid-40s, married with children, and would boast about cheating on his wife to the work boys, with the way he would describe his main tactics as trauma bonding. My girlfriend had BPD and was easily manipulated and persuaded by him to receive fake promises and promise to faster promotion. We are both 20 to 21, so basically I set up a fake Facebook profile and acted on it for a week or two before I joined the local community page, doing post and responding to comments he was interacting with. I made it out like I was a newly single mom and new to the area. After 1 month, before getting his attention, I slid into his DMs and started messaging him and flirty with him. I already knew a lot about him in terms of hobbies, interest, and sporting teams, so I made everything easily relatable to form a strong, trusting connection. I had him hooked. I had him moved over to Snapchat and started catfishing him with photos from online. In exchange, he started sending me nude photos exposing it all. I saved them all in my chat and left them there to build that trust. I also let HM do the same to the photos I sent. After I had enough to ruin him late, I changed my username and name on both platforms to a younger female staff member who used to work at the shop and screenshotted everything. I saved over 20 photos of what he was sending me and lodged a complaint with HR for the company. I even faked a Gmail email to make the user more believable, and when they called me on the phone, I had a female friend take the phone so it sounded very legit. Work for a large company, so you have the option not to do it in person. I also sent the screenshots of our messages and sent the nude photos of him cheating and sent them to his wife, his mom, and his sister. I truly wanted to ruin this man. I wasn't done then. I printed a bunch of posters with "Best Chewbacca Impersonation Wins $100" with his phone number listed below. I couldn't imagine how many phone calls he would have received. Anyways, to date, I have been told he currently has been terminated from the job from people inside the shop, and that he is also judging off the conversation with his wife on FB. She has kicked him out. I do not feel one bit of guilt at all. Maybe I'm psychotic, but nothing can describe the pure hatred I have for that man. As for my ex, she tried to get back with me, but I have left her in the dark and I'm much happier without her. I won't be seeking any revenge on her. Bye and see you again in the next videos and stories.